The following podcast contains adult content, including adult language. I talk openly about sex and other adult topics. If you are under the age of 18 or are uncomfortable listening to sexually explicit narratives, please listen no further. I am not a professional therapist, counselor, or doctor. I'm just an average guy in the swinger lifestyle who likes to share his experiences. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Please seek a professional if you are in need of guidance or care as it relates to sexual health or alternative lifestyles. Hi everyone, and welcome to Evan Swings, a podcast about the swinger lifestyle from the perspective of a guy in the lifestyle. I'm Evan. I'm that guy. I swing. And I thank you for joining me today. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, I am half of a lifestyle couple. The other half is my wife, Eva. We've been in the lifestyle for a little over 3.5 years now. And I want to say thank you, as always, to anyone who is a returning listener. I appreciate the support more than you know. And again, anyone new to the show, I welcome you. Thanks for giving me a chance. I hope you like it. And if you're interested in learning about how Eva and I got into the lifestyle and hearing about some of our first adventures, please feel free to check out some of my earliest episodes. But please also remember, I am not an expert. You'd probably laugh if you actually saw where I record this podcast. Nothing professional about it at all. I'm sitting in my home office on my personal PC with just a basic microphone from Amazon and free audio software. In fact, I probably should warn you that my dogs seem unusually barky today, so that may come through on the microphone at times. This episode is going to be all about the worst kissers Eva and I have ever encountered. I'll get to that. But first, just a quick update on Operation Fogsy, the subject of episode 41, a few episodes ago. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, I talk about sharing the secret that I am a swinger with someone I work with, a very, very attractive female someone I work with. While I 100% truly, honestly wanted her advice on something, I admit I had a bit of an ulterior motive when I decided to share my secret with her. I was hoping, by some strange twist of fate, she would be interested in me. You know, I fantasize about her all the time. Maybe, just maybe, she thought of me in a similar way. And if she did, until she knew I was a swinger, there was nothing she could do about it. So I told her. She now knows my secret. So if there ever came a day where she wanted to make something happen, she could. She is now aware that it is a viable option. I am not pursuing her. My plan, Operation Fogsy, was to make her aware. Having a sexual relationship with a coworker is, I imagine, a very slippery slope. I certainly do not wish to risk ruining our professional relationship. But at the same time, I wanted to take a chance. I pictured myself sitting in a nursing home someday, looking back on these years and thinking to myself, why didn't you just put yourself out there for that coworker? I mean, what would it have hurt? How would it have would it really have changed your life that badly or that much? I didn't want to look back with regret. So I did it. I told her. Now the ball is in her court, and it has been in her court. Like I said, I won't pursue her. I will not do that. But if she ever gets curious about the lifestyle and has questions, she knows who she could ask. I'd be happy to tell her all about it. And if that led to anything else, well, then so be it. So my update is this. There is not much to report. In the week or two after I told her, I felt like she saw me kind of in a different light, and maybe a little bit of a negative light. Like I was different now. And it was probably my brain overthinking things. But that's what happened. But the last few weeks, the several weeks after that, I feel like it's back to normal. She was laughing and joking with me the other day at lunch, and she's kind of a touchy-feely person. Like puts her hand on people's arms or shoulder when she talks to them. And I worried that now that she knew my secret, she would feel uncomfortable doing that to me. Almost like I was repulsive now in some way. But we talked in our staff lounge, and she put her hand on my shoulder, and when she said something, I can't remember what it was, and so all seems back to normal, I guess. I just hope it stays in the back of her mind, like just kind of camps out there, that when she sees me, he's in the lifestyle. I hear all kinds of stories about lonely women who just want a quick, no strings attached play date. And some of those stories that I've heard are from people that I know. So it happens. It's not just a Hollywood thing. And I sure would like to be a part of one of those stories. You just never know. Like I said, the ball is in her court now. Eva has given me her blessing should something happen. But I am certainly not going to take the initiative and try to seduce her or anything. Again, I don't want to risk losing our professional relationship. That could get very awkward, having to see her every day, and there's something uncomfortable between us. I get that. But I keep thinking, maybe someday she'll see a show on TV or a movie where there's swingers portrayed on screen. And that might trigger some questions about the lifestyle. And she might think, oh, I can ask Evan. Maybe he knows, since he is a swinger. We have a chat, one thing leads to another, and then boom, fantasy fulfilled. Okay, I know it's a long shot, a massive long shot, but a guy can dream, can't he? And now, quick aside here, speaking of movies and TV shows portraying swingers, I have to say, I've never come across a TV show or movie that accurately portrays swingers. The most recent show that I remember is a show called Ghosts. And in the show, the neighbors of the main characters are swingers. And I remember in one of the episodes, I was talking to Eva about this, as we were watching, and we're like, that's what the producers, the writers of this show, that's what they think happens. That's what they think swingers do. And it's not accurate. It just doesn't, as someone in the lifestyle, you look at that now and you're like, oh, that's not what it's all about. So that's why I think someone like this coworker of mine, she might see this portrayed on TV or movies and be like, is that really what happens? I should ask Evan. But again, total long shot. Okay, I promised you a story about the worst kissers ever, so here we go. This took place little less than a year ago from the recording of this. We're talking about beginning of the summer of 2024. Now, I have to admit something to you listeners. You know what is one thing I really enjoy about the lifestyle? Variety. Eva has big boobs. I get to play with big boobs all the time. The lifestyle allows me the chance to play with huge boobs, medium-sized boobs, small boobs. I get to be with women of different hair colors, tight butts and big butts, mom bods and tight bods. And that's just the physical stuff. I mean, there's also styles or preferences of how they act in bed. Some women like to ride, some do not. Some are loud in bed, some are quiet. Some like dirty talk, others do not. Some like to be spanked, some do not. Some are more pillow princesses, while some want to be in control the whole time. They're more assertive. Different things turn different women on. So I think you get the point. Hopefully you do. Variety is one of the great aspects of the lifestyle. It's one of the things I love about it. The chance to experience different styles of sex, different positions, different situations. What fun would it be if I were to go for someone who looked and acted the exact same way that Eva looks and acts? What would be the point of that? Well, all right, well, I guess two Evas would be fun in an FMF, but that's kind of fun to think about. But I hope you get my point here. Anyway, included on my bucket fuck it list, I wanted to be with a woman several years older than me. Up to that point, every woman I had been with in the lifestyle had been younger than me, except one, I think. Now, I'm not saying I wanted an elderly woman, all right? But I was interested in being with someone a bit older. I wasn't, out on the websites actively searching for older women, but I was certainly hoping that one day I would have the chance to be with one. That opportunity presented itself last summer. Usually I do not make the first move when it comes to communicating with new couples. I wait for them to see our profile and let them reach out to us. But occasionally, I do take the initiative and send out a message introducing ourselves and expressing interest. It is rare, but it does happen. Well, that's exactly what happened in this situation. I decided I'm just going to reach out because I came across his profile on SLS and there wasn't a whole lot to go on. The location was the Cincinnati area, Surprise, surprise, by the way. Ages were shown and some information about them. I could tell that I would appreciate their sense of humor because of some of the funny things they put in their profile. And sense of humor is a big part of attraction for both Eva and myself. And they had a few photos, but they were all of her, and her face was obscured in each one, presumably for discretion. Normally, I wouldn't even consider reaching out to someone like this, but I really, really liked the humor in their profile, and I decided to take a chance. I started up a conversation with them. The woman was in charge of their profile while I was communicating with her. Like, she was the one doing all the messaging. We had a nice opening conversation, and I guess I was interesting enough for her that she opened up their private gallery so that Eva and I could see their faces. She was very attractive and definitely a bit older than me. She liked sports, she was funny, and she didn't live all that far away. I thought this might be a good match. I showed Eva their profile, and she was able to check out the guy. She was like, meh, I could go either way. So she wasn't overly impressed. He wasn't knock her socks off, handsome, gorgeous, but we decided that it was at least worth meeting them for dinner and seeing if there was any good chemistry. They seemed to really like us as well because they jumped at the opportunity to meet us. Under most circumstances, and I'm saying this based on experience, if it is decided that we should meet, it takes a couple of weeks at least. Like, first you start talking, then you start flirting a little more and swapping pics, then you set a date, and then the date happens. But with jobs and babysitting situations, this typically for us takes a few weeks. If we look back on our experiences, I would say on average it takes a few weeks for the ball to really get rolling. But with this couple, I'll call them Roy and Josie, they suggested meeting the very next week. Since Eva and I had nothing going on, we said sure. We arranged to meet at a restaurant about halfway between our two cities of residence, and this is a common practice, at least for the dates that we usually go on. We like to be fair, so we always suggest meeting about halfway. When we arrived, they had already gotten to their table, but Roy had gone to the restroom, so Josie was alone, sitting at the table, and waved us over. She was, admittedly, not as physically attractive as she appeared in her photos, but still plenty attractive. And again, we're just talking about the physical side here. We sat down and talked, and within a minute or two, Roy showed up. I'm going to say the mean part first here, okay? The nice part second. He looked like a huge dork. All right, now, I am a huge dork too. I admit it. But for me to point out someone as a huge dork means he really looked like a huge dork. But the nice part, they were both really, really nice, and we had a really nice dinner with them. We enjoyed talking with them and had a great overall experience. I expected that when we got back to the car, though, to discuss what we thought, Eva was going to tell me that she was out, because surely she thought he was a huge dork too. I think it was his dorky haircut. he had such a dorky haircut. I don't know. Something made him seem mega dorky to me. But Eva said that she was okay with trying out a spicy date with both of them. And I was a little surprised. In fact, the funny thing was that Eva was surprised that I was interested in having a spicy evening with Josie after meeting her. Because she recognized what I recognized. She was not as attractive in person, physically, as she was in her online profile photos. But, attraction is more than just physical appearance, first of all. I liked her sense of humor and her personality. And second of all, she was still physically attractive, even if she looked a bit different from her profile photos. Well, apparently we made a very good impression on them too, because we received an almost immediate message from them asking when we could set up another date and could we do it the following weekend. Well, Eva and I were not as excited as they seemed to be, but we actually had nothing on our social calendar for the following weekend, so we said, okay, let's do it. There's something I realized about most of our lifestyle dates. I am usually the one to propose a date and plan all the details. Not the case here. Roy was in charge of this. I mean, he proposed the date, he suggested a restaurant, and then he reserved the hotel room. I got the impression he was very, very excited about the prospect of having sex with Eva. I also got the sense, and perhaps I could be wrong about this, that they maybe weren't having much luck meeting people in the lifestyle, or at least meeting people that they felt they were a good match with. It was almost like, we got to get these two to the bedroom before they change their minds. So let's skip to that. Let's skip to that date night, okay? We had a nice dinner and then went back to the hotel. And if you've listened to this podcast before, you probably are well aware that Eva loves playing games on dates, like card games and board games. For whatever reason, we can't really figure it out. Playing games gets Eva's motor going. She has a drink or two, gets really flirtatious and touchy-feely. This particular hotel room had a sitting area with a table so that it was very convenient to play cards. We suggested playing Spicy Spoons, which is an adult version of the game Spoons, where you have to get 4 of the same card, and when you do, you have to grab a spoon from the center of the table. When the first person grabs a spoon, everyone has to grab a spoon. And there's always one less spoon than people. If you don't get a spoon, you have to take off an item of clothing and perform an action requested by the first person who grabbed a spoon. We played that, and items of clothing were lost, and kisses were given, things were touched, things were licked, things were fondled. I was not getting very lucky, though. Till several rounds in, when Eva won and Josie lost. She had to take her shirt off, and Eva's requested action was that she had to kiss me, like Josie had to kiss me. And I was happy to oblige. I'll never forget my first impression of what happened. We leaned in and kissed, and it was like she was caught off guard by my tongue. It's like she didn't know what to do with somebody else's tongue in her mouth. I remember thinking to myself, what the fuck was that? I thought, okay, surely that's not how she kisses. They were fairly new to the lifestyle, and I instantly hypothesized that she was nervous and just, timid with her kissing. Since that was her first one, that broke the ice, and the next time I kissed her, it would be much better. Well, I did not get to kiss her again during that game. But it was decided after another round or two, and clothes were continuing to come off, that we needed to move the fun over to the bedroom area, I should say. I led her over to one side of the bed and began kissing her neck and worked my way up to her mouth. But when I started kissing her, the same damn thing happened. It honestly felt like she had never French kissed anyone before. And I think that's still a term, right? French kissed. That's the term used for kissing with tongue, right? I think so. It reminded me of my first kiss back in my teen years. I didn't know what the hell I was doing with my tongue. This felt like I was kissing someone who had never French kissed before and didn't know what to do. It was shockingly bad. I tried to take the lead and do my usual kissing style with her, but it was almost like she was resisting it. It was like I was trying to do one thing with my tongue, and she was using hers to like fend it off or stay away from mine. I was like, what the hell's going on here? This is a woman in her 50s. She has had plenty of time to practice kissing in her life. And this was just awful. Now, she had a fantastic body. I learned quickly that her boobs were fake because she told me, and I could tell immediately. Not that it matters. I usually prefer real boobs, but as I said, I like variety, and her boobs were very, very nice. She also had a very nice shaved pussy and a great butt. And you know what? She was also a very good rider. Very good rider. So she had a lot of good stuff going on. But the problem is, kissing is extremely important to Eva and me. In fact, there are some couples out there who put in their profiles that they do not kiss other couples on the lips. I haven't seen many of those, but they do exist. And Eva and I have no interest in that at all. But Josie's kissing was distractingly bad. I mean, just terrible. Just terrible. When the evening ended, we were all smiles. Outwardly, everyone seemed to have a good time. When we got to the car, guess what the first thing Eva says to me was? Holy shit, they were the worst kissers ever. I was like, I know. So it wasn't just me. It was painfully apparent to Eva as well. But we also agreed that they were very nice people, and if they had a good time, we would probably consider seeing them again, giving them another chance. Well, remember when I told you earlier about how eager they seemed to meet us? Apparently they had an absolute blast because they texted us on the way home asking when we could meet again. They also said something very respectful. They said something like, But if you don't want to, a polite no thank you will be fine and we won't bother you again. I thought that was pretty cool of them to say that. We understand we're not for everyone, and if you choose to go your separate ways, we will respect and understand that. Well, we responded saying we had a nice time too, and we would be happy to stay in touch. The next week or two got very busy for us, and we found ourselves not really doing any lifestyle messaging. After a while, I was able to reach out to them, respond to one of their messages, and say hello. I also included something like, hey, sorry we haven't been messaging. We've been really busy. We didn't want you to think it was something you did or something you said. I was just being polite. Our motto, as I've said, is life before lifestyle. If there's a long delay between messages with anyone we talk with, so what? Life comes first. So I figured they would respond with something like, oh, that's okay, we get it, we understand. But Roy responded with something a little bit weird. He was like, to be honest, I was kind of wondering why you weren't responding. I thought we all had a nice time together. Like, he was not offended, but he was wondering, why we weren't responding. I guess I can attribute it to the fact that they were still fairly new to the lifestyle. They just didn't know all the ins and outs yet, like proper etiquette. But there was a larger problem. Have you ever had a situation in life when you are excited about something, and then when you are given time to think about it, your feelings begin to change? Eva and I both found that happening here. Once the excitement of a new situation with a new couple started to wear off, she and I realized, we found ourselves not enthusiastic about seeing Roy and Josie again. We kept going back to the kissing thing. They were friggin' awful kissers, pathetically bad kissers. And I don't get the wrong idea. I'm not saying I'm the best kisser in the world. I'm not. I can't be. Maybe I am. Who knows? But I'm not saying I am. But I think anybody could tell that Roy and Josie were just awful kissers. My stomach just growled. I'm not sure if that came through the mic. Anyway, since kissing plays such an important part in the sex that we both enjoy, we found ourselves feeling like maybe we didn't want to see them again. We continued to think about it, discussed it, and ultimately decided that we really didn't want to be with them again. We didn't want to be with a couple again where a critical element to our play was that flawed. It's not like we could or should train them to be better kissers, nor should we keep getting together with them with the hope or assumption that they will get better at it. They were in their mid-50s. If they're not good at it now, they aren't going to get good at it at all. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, is the old saying. So yes, Eva and I decided we didn't want to lead them on. We wanted to be honest with them, but not hurt their feelings. Therefore, we, of course, did not tell them the real reason why we didn't want to see them again. We simply said we'd been talking about what we were looking for in the lifestyle and felt like we were no longer a match for them. I forget how I worded it, but I did my best to be very polite and made it sound like we had just had a change of heart, but it was nothing against them. I tried to use the old it's us, not you type of thing. And thankfully they were very good about it. It's too bad it came to that, but Eva and I agreed that kissing is one of the most important aspects of sex. It helps set the tone with foreplay and then continues to be a key component once it gets beyond foreplay. If this couple was absolutely amazing in bed otherwise, or if they shared more of our common interests outside the bedroom, then, or if they lived closer, then maybe it would have been easier to overlook. In fact, I can tell you we could have probably overlooked it. But honestly, we didn't have a whole lot in common with them. So if the sex wasn't downright amazing, then there really wasn't any good reason to keep forcing the subject. We felt bad because it was very obvious they really liked us, especially Roy liking Eva, probably the hottest woman he's ever fucked in his life. I totally understand that he really wanted to be with her again. I'm telling you, listeners, Eva is a hottie, and photos just don't do her justice. You meet her in person and you would be taken by her. So I get what Roy was thinking. I get he was probably very disappointed. I felt Josie could take or leave me, on the other hand, but oh well. You have to pursue what you like in the lifestyle and eliminate what you don't. Eva and I like kissing. We chose simply to eliminate a couple that couldn't do that. And that's my story of the worst kissers ever. Thanks for sticking with me to this point. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Do you have a bad kissing story? If so, I'd love to hear about it. Feel free to contact me with your story or with any questions, comments, or suggestions, because I had one listener send me a question last week. Username is OneHeart. I guess that's his username, his or her username. So OneHeart asks, what was the craziest place you have ever had sex? I assume you mean in the lifestyle. Not sure about that, but if you mean ever in my life or our lives, Eva and I had sex on the roof of our house once. That's probably the craziest place for us outside of the lifestyle. As part of the lifestyle, sadly, I don't think we have done anything too crazy. I mean, Eva has fucked two different guys in a parking garage on two separate occasions. Two different guys. I was in the vehicle for one of those. And then we had sex on a beach with a couple when we were in Mexico. But that's really it. I hate to not give you a very exciting answer to your question, OneHeart, but the truth is, Eva and I really, we don't really do anything too crazy on our lifestyle dates. We've played at hotels, the club, Airbnbs, in hot tubs, at Eva's office, like I said, in vehicles. But that's about it. Sadly, I can't say we have done it anywhere too off the wall crazy. But thank you so much for sending me a question. I don't get a lot of those, so it's a lot of fun when I do. So with that, please again, feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can find me on Instagram at Evan Dienson. That's EvanDeanson, Evan Dienson. Or email me at evandeanson@gmail.com. Or remember, you can always find the Evan Swings page on Blue Sky. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, be safe, be naughty, and always remember, live life to the fullest.